let's bring Blake to the stage along with Caitlin. All right, I will let you guys take it away. Got my notebook and I'm ready.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. It's great to be here, y'all. I'm going to pull up some slides for the first part of our conversation today, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of a conversation from there. So today, I want to talk to y'all about, if I can put it in, there we go, present mode, there we go. I'm going to talk about Andie Swim's SMS program and how they're powering one-to-one personalization with Attentive and Digioh AI. AI, we've talked about a lot today, have always amazing use cases, and I think, this whole kind of sentiment happening here around getting to know your customers better. AI is only as good as the data that you have to leverage into that model, whether that's automation, which is sort of like an AI light, or a lot more of its advanced use cases. So I want to be able to talk you through how to get the right data to create more conversions on your website and also in your SMS program. So my name is Blake. I'm the SVP of Marketing at Digioh. I used to be an SMS marketer long before this for D2C brands. Also used to work at Attentive. So it's great to be here today. I'm joined also by Caitlin Elgin. I'm going to bring Caitlin up for the second part of this conversation in a few moments here. They're Andie Swim's retention marketing partner. And we're going to start this conversation really by discussing a little bit of what is zero-party data, why does it matter to AI and personalization, and then show you all the things that Andie is thinking about and doing. If you don't know who Digioh is, we're the zero-party data and CRO platform for over 3,000 brands like Andie Swim, Dollar Shave Club, even the NFL. We help them to collect zero-party data and activate that across their site, email, and SMS. And we have a lot of AI features as well that we continue to build upon. So this stat, I think, is just a mic drop in itself. Shopify dropped this data personalization report recently and found that 71% of consumers expect personalization, but 76% of that 71 get frustrated when that doesn't happen. Nowhere is this more obvious than the SMS channel, where you're limited to a finite number of characters, and really the message and the segmentation, all those things matter deeply. I want to walk you through a fictitious example. You might have experienced this. You might have a text like this in your inbox. This is Jamie. She's visited a well-known clothing store, and maybe she saw them on Instagram Reels and comes through the ad and takes their product finder quiz. So on that quiz, she shares she's shopping for her 2 kids. And at the end of that quiz, opts into the SMS channel for discounts and future promotions. She's not ready to purchase today, but she does plan to come back a few days later and complete that purchase. But what ends up happening is on day 2, she receives a text promoting men's collections. Jamie just told the quiz on day 1 she's shopping for her kids. So this is an irrelevant text. She doesn't find it valuable. And while it's being a little bit, I think, overreactive, let's say she unsubscribes because she finds this not valuable. This is a lost opportunity, and SMS doesn't really have to be this way. This could have been avoided had the brand just used the information they learned from that quiz to personalize that SMS communication thereafter. So if this resonates with you as a consumer or a brand, or maybe something you want to avoid in your SMS channel, we're going to talk all today about how to avoid this through quizzes and zero-party data. So the answer to avoiding this, as I mentioned, is zero-party data. And you might be asking me, Blake, what in the world is zero-party data? I want to give away a gift card to someone in the chat who can guess what zero-party data is. So for a $75 gift card to a Digioh brand of your choice, you can put in the chat, what is zero-party data? I've got some folks with me from Digioh today to pick a lucky winner. So we'll announce that in the chat. Keep an eye on that. But please let me know in the chat, what do you think zero-party data is? I'll give you guys a few moments to guess that. All right, I'm going to keep moving. Please just get that in the chat there if you can. But the definition that we have of it is that it's preference information that consumers voluntarily share with brands. This could be things like product preferences, like I like lightweight running shorts, maybe lifestyle attributes, like I'm a beach person, pain points like I'm struggling to start my garden, which I definitely am, communication preferences like I prefer SMS over email, or really anything under the sun. But you collect these through things like quizzes, at opt-in with a pop-up, or even just from conversations you're having with your consumers. So in the case of Andie Swim, for those who don't know, they're a well-known swimwear brand, pretty famous for their exceptional products and also their customer service. Shopping online presents a lot of challenges, especially in clothing. You can't touch things, you can't feel, sizing, styling, so many things that you don't know. And it's not always easy for you to understand, what do I buy? But also for Andie, and really for, I think, any brand, it's difficult to know who's on your site and why did they come to your site in the first place? What are they looking for? What do they want to hear more about? So Andie tackled this head on by building a guided selling quiz with Digioh. This lets them crush all those conversion challenges, but also building that one-to-one relationship and capturing a lot of zero-party data. They ask in this quiz just 5 questions. You can see here on the left, asking things like, hey, what's the occasion you're shopping for? Do you want a 1-piece or a 2-piece suit? How much coverage in the suit do you want? And at the end of this, on the right, they're given this results page, which is customized to the products for them. And our AI-assisted features really can help you build this quiz a lot faster, which is exciting. I'll share more about that at the end of the call today. But this is just the beginning. This is really the jumping off point, but zero-party data is like the core of how we think about personalization. You can see in this kind of graph here how this all comes together. So not only are they recommending the right products, but all this data is helping them to personalize the customer journey. This data is used on-site in their email flows, and most exciting, their SMS flows as well, and their overall just SMS strategy. The stats don't lie. Using a quiz, they've increased their conversions significantly, 296%, 96x ROI on it, and then their automated flows, 55% increase year over year on those. Like, that's a mic drop in itself as well. But this is really just the beginning of it. This is the front doorstep of personalization. And this quiz data is just the beginning. And it's exciting because now, as we kind of think about zero-party data in the SMS channel, how do we use all this data we're learning about the shopper in the quiz? So I want to bring up Caitlin now from Homeroom to set the stage and really just talk about all the exciting ways that Andie's using this zero-party data to personalize that SMS experience. So Caitlin, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, Blake. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Talk a little bit about just yourself, your background, but also what do you oversee for Andie?
Yeah, so I'm Caitlin. I am a retention strategist. I currently work with Homeroom Agency, where we support a variety of brands' lifecycle and retention strategies. For Andie in particular, I oversee their email and SMS program, mainly using Klaviyo, and recently Attentive. We just migrated back there for their SMS program.
Love to hear that. I'm super excited to see y'all migrate over to Attentive. As a retention marketing expert, you work with so many brands. Why do you think zero-party data, like everything we just talked about with capturing that, why is that so important to the SMS marketing channel?
Really, it's just because SMS is so personal. I mean, it's evolved a lot in the last few years, and I think you do see more brands in your phone than you used to, but ultimately you're still in your phone next to somebody's mother or your best friend or their boyfriend. So getting a customer's attention on such a personal channel really relies on having that personal information for them and kind of meeting them where they're at. Sure.
I think that meeting them where they're at, where you mentioned, is like one of the biggest things. Even that example that we walked through of, someone tells them they're shopping for a specific, use case, pain point, whatever, but then getting, something that maybe isn't relevant to them. That's not meeting them where they're at. So it's definitely a great opportunity for brands, I think. I'd love to just kind of like zoom in now. Like, let's get tactical on some use cases. So how are you planning? You mentioned just migrating over to Attentive SMS. You've got this integration with Digioh. How are you planning to use that data then specifically for Andie? Can we talk about just like some specific use cases and things you're excited about?
Yeah, definitely. So we've had a ton of success with this on email, and we're sort of excited to just make an extension of that. And so some of the information that we gather via the quizzes has to do with fit, which, as you know, for swim can be a very, very sensitive subject. It can be really difficult to find swimwear that fits online. So what we really want to do is take the information about whether they want to have a long torso or they want a more supportive style and put those put those products in front of them. And, once they've made their purchase and maybe they found something that they really like, show them more products that are sort of within that same realm that they might also like. So we can kind of go across different categories. So if they like a long torso in one style, we can recommend them in another style. We can go across colors. We even have use cases in work where we're working with maternity, where we can kind of combine the quiz data about the styles that they like, even like the the classic versus fun prints or things like that, and cross sell them against like their life stage. So if we know when their due date was, we can maybe in a few months message them when we have a partnership with like Pink Chicken and we have toddler suits.
Love that. Yeah, that Pink Chicken, I'm just bringing up that example right here. Can you talk a little bit about how this might be set up specifically? Like, what's this journey and how are we powering that message?
Yeah, so this is sort of a combination of data here. The way we would kind of set it up is we love using the join to segment trigger from Attentive, but we'd basically start with pulling a segment around past purchase behavior, like if they purchased a maternity suit, and then the zero party data that we've gathered, whether we know their torso length, whether we know the cut of the suit that they like, the style of the suit. And this is information that we're working on gathering, but we want to incorporate more for maternity, particularly gathering more information about sort of the stage that they're at, so we can kind of be on that life journey with them, and again, meet them where they're at. So we do have a lot of customers reaching out for postpartum. So they want like a more supportive style for that. So we could kind of reach out to them for maternity, for postpartum, for when their toddlers are a little bit older, because we do collaborations with toddler styles and things like that. So it creates some opportunities for us to kind of keep messaging them even year over year, going and referring back to the things that they were really interested in.
Love that. I think there's a couple more I'd love to just zoom in on here as well and just kind of chat through. This isn't campaigns specifically. We talked about kind of combining all these attributes, being able to recommend and use some of the AI segment builders as well, and bringing in that data to create more dynamic segments for Andie. Here's an example of a campaign. Can you talk a little bit about just how you're kind of taking that zero party data to create more unique segments? I think about, my days of SMS marketing is just like 2018, 19. A lot has changed and developed since, but you might have like an engaged list. That's who you're sending to. But now with all this data, you can really get really granular into knowing who is this person and sending them more relevant messages, I think, as well.
Right. We can get a lot more personalized and more dynamic with what we're putting in front of customers. So in this example, we would be relying on some information about the type of support that they want, because if they're looking for something that has heavier support, it's not going to be as interesting to them if we send them something that's got, a little less fabric. So yeah, in this example, we would kind of be going back over their quiz preferences and pulling segments together based on their engagement level, based on whether or not they've purchased in the past. We can also pull some levers here and maybe add on a store credit if they have returned and we're trying to kind of convince them to come back. We can also tailor this even further and go like, this is a style that you've bought in the past and you might like, or we can go, I'm sorry, I'm just losing my train of thought there. We can kind of recommend further down the line and keep kind of adding on top of this, basically.
I love it. Yeah, no, so many great use cases, and I think we can zoom in on each of these. I want to go to two more real quickly and then kind of talk a little about AI here at the end. This quiz results text, like this is one of the most engaged texts that we see just on our site at Digioh. Could you talk just a little bit about like also just even like the value of having automations with some of this data, like having more unique messaging? We talked about campaign segmentation, all that, but like even at the highest, just set it and forget it type level, how important a text like this can be for someone's journeys over.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a little bit of a lift off of customer service in one aspect. If we're able to recommend things automatically, it sort of takes lift off of people messaging and asking what might I like. So if we're able to get as nuanced as possible on the front end of our relationship with the customer, we can let the system sort of do some of the work for us with a little bit of information on the background, of course, that like combining that information with what we've known over time works for certain types of customers with what, crossed with their preferences. We can kind of predict a little bit more accurately what they might like without having to have customer service kind of have a back and forth with them, and ultimately get them to the purchase a little bit sooner than they would have if they didn't have this type of information.
Love that. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, we at Digioh have, AI quiz, builder features and things that kind of make this easier to even capture that. But then bringing this into Attentive and some of the AI features as well. We've talked about just segmentation, campaigns, those types of things. This is another really great example I love as well that you've built out here of, taking a bad experience with a return or potentially what could be a negative experience, but making it into a positive one. Could you talk to us a little bit about this returns use case? I really think this is a really strong CX moment here as well.
Yeah. So again, swimwear can be a more sensitive category, just because it can be really hard to find a style that you feel really comfortable in. And it can be really disappointing to get something. You're really excited about it. You're hyped about the look. You've been, you've taken the quiz and you've gotten some recommendations and you're hyped that it's going to work, and it doesn't. That happens. What we want to do is sort of soften that experience for the customer and encourage them that there is an Andie fit for them. It just might not have been that very first one that you tried. So the thought here is taking, again, the zero party data that we know what the cut of the suit that they like, their height, things like that, pairing it with the purchase that they just made that did not work and recommending them something else. And then giving them some sort of like bounce back incentive that says like, here, trust us, we'll help you find the right thing. And we want to, bolster your confidence. And here's a little incentive to kind of get you there.
I think it's a great way to take a potentially negative experience, turn it into a really positive one there as well. I think just wrapping things up, I wanted to just kind of get your thoughts here. We've talked about a lot of near AI use cases here of like, building, activating all those things, but where this is all kind of heading in your opinion as a retention expert, like how do you see something like zero party data, which is such a valuable piece of knowing who the consumer is, like where do you see this heading with like just some of the more, I suppose, use cases that you would be looking to kind of tap into in your day-to-day with how you use zero-party data and AI in general?
I ultimately see it helping us sort of predict the customer over time a little bit better and engage with them over time a little bit better. For a brand like Andie, they don't have a typical season like many brands. It's summer, right? So the lead time for a customer can be a lot longer than other brands. We do have year-over-year customers, where some brands do have churn after like 90 days. So where I really see this helping us get more intelligent and get a little bit more nuanced with the customer is finding more predictable spots, more opportunities throughout the year to stay engaged with the customer and sort of keep Andie not necessarily top of mind, because they might not be top of mind with Andie in the winter, but there's like a winter sauna moment or something like that where we kind of want to get in front of the customer and maybe recommend something new in the products that might be an off-season piece that we can kind of get in front of them. So the way I sort of see this going is just continuing to kind of supplement and, I'm going to say it again, meet the customer where they're at. I also see it a lot in the customer service space where it's allowing, again, to take sort of the heavy touch out of customer service and just make an overall smoother customer experience with fewer touch points so they can get to what they want faster and, just end up with a smooth, succinct experience. We don't necessarily want customers to feel a lot of strife and back and forth and trying to find something that works for them. So where I see the AI and, the zero party data kind of fitting in is like literally helping them find their fit.
Absolutely. I think it's a great way to tie a bow in all of this. I think, helping to, AI has this stigma of being very like robotic in the way it communicates. And I think this is just helping to create more of those. When you do reach out, you've got kind of a common thread to be able to connect and build that relationship with the consumer, no matter where it is, segment building, automations, campaigns, like all the things. Caitlin, I know we could have talked for much, much longer. I know it's all the time we have right now, but thank you for joining us and for chatting more about what Andie's doing with zero-party data and why it matters, I think, in the SMS conversation. If anyone found this session insightful and wants to do this for themselves, for their brand, happy to chat. We have tons of resources on zero-party data at Digioh. Some information is here for you to get in touch with us, and also recommend getting in touch with Caitlin as well at Homeroom. You can find them over on LinkedIn as well. Jess, I'll turn it back over to you and bring you back up.
Well, I'm glad you're both still here because I actually have questions. So you can't leave yet. I think that was really insightful. I don't think that people really look up or think about zero party data in these terms. I think that what you guys are building with like that Andie example is very interesting. But I'm curious actually from both of y'all, like, okay, so we're talking about Andie, we're talking about like these use cases that you can use it in across the journey. And I think that's really dope. But like, I would love to hear from y'all, like, what's a brand that you wish would be doing this better for you in your own personal shopping experience? I know I put you on the spot on that one. I did.
That's a great question. I think some of the ones that I like or I'd like to see more of this in are usually clothing stores. I'm always more curious about what's going to fit me. Like I want to see AI get better at like predicting whether or not a certain cut of an item is going to work for me, or like the shoe size if I need more narrow or more wide, or like based on my arch support. Like I want the recommendations that I get from certain sites to just level up.
Yeah. What about you, Blake?
I was thinking about a couple, but Patagonia to me, I'm not a B2B bro. I feel like I gotta say Patagonia, but no, I think just like when someone comes to a website and you're able to understand within like a minute what they're interested in, what more they want to see of, like I feel that's just like a missed opportunity. Like all the emails, the text that I'm getting, it's just very broad. But if it's like, hey, here's a couple of things that we think are perfect for you, or hey, you're going hiking, you're a hiker, like here's some of our top picks, like just things like that. Such a low hanging fruit and doesn't really take that much strategy beyond just asking a question and using back and turn,
Yeah. And I think that like also while we're us like thinking about this, right? Like I know we're talking about like apparel, right? But I also think that it could be a use case for more beauty. I think that Blake, like we have a mutual client, Lineage Provisions, or no, I'm sorry, Lineage Provisions. Almost. Okay. But point is, like in like health and wellness, right? Like creatine, proteins, like any of those things. I think they're so like these brands are so rampant, right? In that, not in a bad way, just rampant. There's just like there's so many options on the table, like this creatine or this protein or this supplement feeds these things, right? And I think that it's really hard in the D2C community of like going to a website and picking like which one's the right one, because you're coming in from a funnel of an ad being told that like this is good for you, but then when I land on the website, how do you complete that journey? How do you complete and then how do you continue that journey through like email, SMS, other channels, like even at like the future of it of like feeding other content, right, on social and like other pages. So like my personal opinion is I would like to see it more in like just health and wellness types of brands and beauty, because those are such personalized experiences.
Yeah, just to add on that real quickly, I think we work with brands across like every single vertical, and some who think like I sell one product, I can't have a quiz, but I think it's like 1 or 10,000 products. I think the beauty of it is like everything we talked about with recommendations, yes, but it's like the time between purchases and like what you communicate, the content, how you message, like engage. There's a lot of gold you can pull from that of like, Epic Gardening. I'm thinking about them, like how to take care of your garden, how to, take care of your tomatoes you just bought, all those things. Like there's just so much you can do if you're creative. I think that's sort of like one of the things that I get excited about with kind of this, where AI is heading as well, is it's like, there's a lot of opportunity to take this data and just, create really cool campaigns and messaging around it as well.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Oh, I was just going to add on that I think I see a lot of brands start with the acquisition part of the zero party data and use it for the very first purchase and then sort of drop off with it. I would really love to see more brands using it as the cross-sell, upsell strategy, right? So like you mentioned in the health and wellness space, like these are my starting products. Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, exactly. Like AI in education, right? Like the all these brands that we're talking about, like health and wellness, beauty, all these things take a piece of needing to educate the consumer to make sure that you retain them and like through that entire life cycle. And that data is so important throughout that whole journey. I mean, even on those pieces, yes, upsells, cross sells, but I even think like helping you optimize your welcome flows too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we use a strategy with a pet food brand where we optimize the welcome strategy and sort of recommend a whole like nutritional plan based off of certain questions that they answer on the intake. So yeah, that's just a great starting point, right? Just start with guiding the customer to the thing that they need.
Right. Totally. Well, my dudes and gal, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this, because I think it's so it's such an insightful session. I think there's so many opportunities to think about, like, just taking that data across your entire customer journey. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks
for having me.